And good afternoon once again, Market Rebels, to Coach's Corner. I've been saying this too, it seems like we just did this the other day, but here we are again. And what we wanted to share with you today is a topic that we've actually been talking about in a number of our webinars and private coaching sessions. And I think it's a super important topic. So we thought, let's get it out there to the rest of our traders out there on YouTube. So for today, Stu, you probably know where this is heading. Here's our Chalk Talk question, which is our thought-provoking question. We'll come back at the end to answer it, but we want you to think about it first. Here we go. Multiple trade adjustments give you a long-term edge.
Is this
True or
the
false?
like I have to do something, I have to do something, I
This
have
is I call it pushing buttons. Now, I have to be very careful here because I know that people say, "Oh, well, Bill and Stu said that it's bad." That's not what we're saying.
Mm-mm.
What we're saying is that the point we're going to make is that there has to be a good reason, and there's a
Yeah,
difference. But the point that a lot of traders think is that because I have the ability to break this spread apart or to leg into it later or to roll up or to split this apart or let me cash in on the short leg and I'll hold the long position. I'm just going to do all these trades and it's giving me an edge. Just the very fact that I'm doing all of these trades. That's what we want to ask because we find a lot of traders saying, that's why I do it, because it gives me this edge. So that's what we want you to think about. So here's our topic for today. More decisions, more errors. Kind of gives you a hint about where we're going here. So I wanted to open up, this really applies to every single Coach's Corner webinar topic and options that you could ever think of. I love this quote from Thomas Sowell. There are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. How powerful is that? There's nothing that says this is the perfect solution, or oh look, I rolled up, I got a credit, I've more than paid for my cost, I'm in it for free. Nope, it's a trade-off. And again, that doesn't make it wrong, but it makes it wrong if you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Bill, we
So
run into this
all the time.
quite often where we get people that say to us, Just show me which one's best,"
Yeah, show me this one. Yeah, show me the best
or I just want to master two
two
strategies.
strategies. I don't need the others, right?
Yeah, I don't need the other strategies. Just
Yeah.
tell me how to do a buy rate.
Tell me which is
I'm not greedy.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Tell me which one's best.
Which
And as
which
we've
one
told,
is the which is the best expiration that
right.
I should use?
And if there were a best, the others wouldn't exist.
Well,
And
they could
even
go
if
away.
you could make an argument for it, then it's no longer going to be the best because it will get priced in. So there's all of these different kind of macro views, fundamentals about options and markets that you really have to understand. And I think this is a beautiful way to remember it. There is never a solution, whether it's economics, that's where this came from, but where somebody might say, uh, let's raise taxes and it'll do this. It's a solution. No, it's a trade off. And that is always true with every decision, and especially in options. So keep that in mind. And let's start
Un,
off with we have to
un,
do a
un,
little.
unintended consequences
That's another big one. Yeah,
enters into this discussion.
almost all the time. Yep, for that very reason.
And it's so important, really. The big picture is people come into this. Newer people come into this till they figure it out with this idea that if I do this, this, and this, I'll just win.
I'll win.
I'll just take money.
Right.
All right, just show me how to do it, and I'll win.
Follow the rules and
Follow
I'll
the
win.
rules. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Just follow the rules. Follow this, follow that, and I win.
Absolutely false.
No.
Right. Absolutely false. So let's do a little recap. I know we've talked about this many times, and there's a reason. It's really a fundamental idea of options and in finance. So let's say that if you pay fair value or bet fair value at something, there's no edge. And what this shows is that you will just go sideways over time. Now, this is 10,000. I think this was a flip of or a spin of a roulette wheel, or it could have been a flip of a coin. But do you see how it doesn't mean because it's fair value that you sit at zero? There's variation around it. Sure, you can win, but you can also lose. But if you sit there long enough, you're just going to keep crossing zero. That's the point, that there's no upward drift or downward drift. So if you are playing a fairly valued game, there's no real reason to do it. You're just that's a pure gamble. You might end up on the winning side, but you also might not. Now, also for those of you who know something about Kelly betting, you've heard that term before about the Kelly fraction or Kelly bet sizing. What does Kelly say about a fairly valued game? If you can bet a dollar or lose a dollar at the flip of a coin, put it in the formula. It says don't play, and that's why. All right, so this is the first thing to understand, that if we're talking about something that is fairly valued, there's no real reason to play.
Bill,
If
did you just say in so many words that Mr. Kelly says if you are on the negative side of the edge, then you shouldn't play?
absolutely right. If it doesn't make sense to play in a fairly valued game, it definitely doesn't make sense to do a negative
Kind
edge.
of reminds me of like a super quick story here. So my first wife's dad, he's actually still around. Um, he's in his 90s. So I was very young in my 20s, and he would say to me, when you go to the casino, this is when like resorts was just opening
Uh-huh.
up,
Uh-huh.
casinos in Jersey.
Yeah, in Jersey, sure.
And he said, just you're gonna lose, just make it entertainment. Pick a number.
Yep.
And you might get lucky, probably
Right.
not, but you might.
But
Just
you're not gonna make a career out of it.
there's the casinos are there to win money and they're there to take your money. So just accept it, and that's the way it is. And if you
Right.
know that going in, then it just becomes a fun time.
Right.
But in here, it's like people think that they're if they buy some extra time, or if they go some some line, they have this edge. It's just not there.
It,
It's already there. It's already in the
right.
market.
It's already
You,
built
you
in.
gotta you gotta you gotta you gotta find you gotta find what you think might give you an edge
Right.
somewhere. But the pricing of the markets, if it's accurate, which sometimes it's not,
Right.
that might be your edge. Or maybe it's in the tilt, or maybe it's in the skew, or maybe it's
Right.
in the vol tilt, or it's something. There's something there.
And that we're absolutely
Uh,
can be, but that's part of our point. You need to know where to
you
look.
need Yeah, and you need
You
to know
need to
where
know
to
where to
look
look.
to see where the holes
Right.
are as well. It's both sides of the
Correct.
coin, right? If you can
Correct.
figure out one, you can figure out the other. And
Yep.
that's what people miss here. I mean, I
Yep.
truly believe that's what people miss.
They do.
They just
So,
think, well, I'll just, it's an ATM. And it
right.
it doesn't work like that.
It's competition.
Yeah,
So let's take a
competition.
look at paying if you pay above fair value. So back to our coin flip. If uh, if I pay a dollar to you every time you were going to do a coin flipping bet, if I pay you a dollar but you pay me a dollar 10, that's a negative edge to you, a positive one to me. And
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
this is what Stu's P&L is going to look like.
You want
Now,
me to play that game? I'm
no,
not gonna play
I,
that game.
I'm just saying if we did, this is why Stu's not going to play it. Now, if even in this case, he could still win, but it would be at the far left side of the graph, depending on how big that edge is. And this is what the casinos have. They're on the opposite side of this trade. So if this were a mirror, this black line would be the casino's P&L. So for people who doubt that, take a look at the casinos. Who's making the money here? All right, they definitely have the edge. So if you put in a negative valued bet, again, I pay a dollar, Stu pays a dollar 10 or anything over a dollar. At the flip of a coin, Kelly is going to come up to say, don't play. There's no, so, but these are going to be important in just a minute. Now, if you are able to get the bet below fair value, that would just be me on the other side of the previous one, you will have an upward bias. And this is where Kelly will say, not only do you play, but here's how much you should bet. That's the whole point of the Kelly formula. But the underlying assumption with Kelly is that there is an edge. All right, so keep that in mind as we go forward, because we're going to throw these terms around. It's going to become super important. Now, before we do, if you like topics just like this, Stu, we do this every Tuesday, Thursday in our lunch crunch. Shoot that QR code and you can talk to one of the salespeople there about how to join us. We have phenomenal conversations like this every day, and we also have breakout sessions on specific topics. So shoot that QR code, and we'd love to have you join us. So this comes up to The illusion of control, this is a psychological thing. You can read about it. It's not made up, but it appears in a lot of different areas just because you're the one doing it. So, for instance, driving, right? Lots of people are fearful of flying and they feel safer driving. Why? Because they're the ones behind the wheel. That's a very good case of the illusion of control. Statistically, it is not true, but it feels like it is. But the same thing happens with trading. Traders like to place lots of trades, right? I should say at least most of them. That's why they call themselves traders. They are always pushing buttons, trying to do something, right? Let's I entered this vertical spread. The short leg, the stock went against me. The short leg made money. Let me close that and I'll lock in a gain and I'll apply that gain over here to the long. It's helping my edge. Well, didn't you own the spread? Isn't the entire spread down? Didn't your long position also take a hit? See, they don't think about that. They're just pushing buttons thinking that it's giving them an edge. Classic examples, hedges, rolls, and morphs. Now, again, to be clear, this is my second disclaimer here, Stu. We are not saying to not hedge, roll, morph, or to push buttons for any other reason. We're saying don't do it blindly just because you think that's what's giving you the edge.
Do it because the profile that you have now
Correct, is not the one
is
you want.
not the profile that you want,
And
which
the
is
one that
not
you're
the
going into,
profile, yeah,
right?
which is not the profile that you had when you started. See,
That's
that's
right.
the dynamics of options. It's 100 shares of stock is 100 shares of stock, no matter what price it is,
Right.
it's 100 shares of stock. Options have this curvature to it. So your profile is always changing. There's other dynamics going on. And the one that you have today is most likely not the one that you had yesterday, or it might be, but it over time and
Probably not.
as things, the world turns, it
Mhm.
changes. So if you don't like what you have today, regardless of where you came from, then by all means go ahead
Yeah.
and do what you think you need to do. But
Right.
don't do it because it's there and I just feel like hitting a button.
It's a subtle difference, and that's
Yeah.
exactly the point. We are people, well, I could lock in a gain here, so let me just do it. No, you have to have more of a reason. So again, these are some very simple examples where people think it gives them an edge, and they feel like because they're the ones making the decision and pushing the buttons, and they want to categorize, I'm going to lock in these gains and apply it to this long, they think it's making them the casino. But the thing to understand is that beliefs are not math. It feels like it's a good idea, but most of the time it's not. So here's the thing that we were trying to bring up in a lot of our webinars here recently is that for traders who say, "Hey, you're wrong, Bill and Stu, because I can tell if I lock this in and move over here and whatnot that I have an edge. It is giving me an edge." All right, well, let's take a look at the arguments and show you why they break down. First of all, let's assume that you do have an edge. If a trading edge is present, the more you trade, the more you make. We saw that in that graph, right? With that upward sloping one when I said that I was on the opposite side, I'm getting $1.10 at the flip of a coin and Stu is paying, I'm only paying a dollar. I would have
Yeah.
that upward edge.
Yeah.
Why would I want to leave that deal? Why would I ever say, you know what? I want to just quit this and move on to something else?
Because you want to lock your money in and
And
go
but see
go
that that's
play another
that's
game.
but see that's the misperception. There's no reason to exit. Now, again, here's a very good example. If it gave you an edge, then ask yourself, very important question, why don't casinos say, "Hey, look, at the end of the night, we're up on this roulette wheel here, so we're going to shut it down
Yeah, we're going to
and,
shut it down.
and we're going to because we want to lock in those gains and we're going to now move all the players over to or we're going to open up a new blackjack table or we're going to open up a new roulette table because now that might be the like saying we're going to a different strike or a different expiration. We don't want you to do this one. We want you to do that one. That would be nonsense. In fact, what do casinos do? They're only open for about 8 hours a day, I think, right, Stu?
I was just thinking of
Yeah.
like
No,
last
but
time I was in the casino, I think it said open 24 hours.
24/7. Right. Why? For this reason right here. See, the casinos understand the math, but a lot of times the traders don't. So here's the thing if you truly believe that you have some strategy where you have an edge, you have to say, why would you want to get in and get out? That would only be hurting your profits. Okay. So if you believe you have an edge, trading in and out only makes things worse. So that breaks that argument down if you say, I need to trade because I have an edge. That is definitely not true. Let's go to the other side. What if you have an edge against you? So this would be where I'm paying a dollar at the flip of a coin and Stu is paying something more, like a dollar 10 or a dollar 20. That would be an edge against Stu. And now, is it fair to say that Stu should therefore dodge in and out and try to hedge, roll, and morph and change things? No. If the edge is against you, the more you trade, the more you lose. There's no reason in the world to enter. We talked about that. Kelly said, don't even enter a fairly valued game, and definitely don't enter one with a negative edge. Put any casino game into the Kelly formula, it'll say, don't play for this very reason. So trading in and out is only entering an unfair game multiple times. See, it's this illusion of control. Hey, I'm up on this casino, on this roulette wheel. You know what, Stu? Let's lock in this $200 gain and let's move over to blackjack. The casino loves that kind of thinking. If it gave you an edge, the casino wouldn't allow it. Right? We've talked about that before. The casino doesn't allow cameras, doesn't allow you to bring up a laptop and start analyzing stuff. Why not? Because you could beat the casino with that.
Do they
Why
let
does
you?
the
Do they let you count cards, Bill?
Not supposed to, but that's a very hard. That's a but think about that. Even though I think, hey, if you're that good to count the cards, that's but they will boot. They have the right to boot you
They will
for
boot.
that reason.
Yeah, they'll
They have
boot.
the right to boot you for that reason. But now think about that.
They're
Why
losing
say
their edge,
correct?
right? You're gaining an edge. If you're gaining an edge,
They're
they got to
losing.
be losing an edge.
They
It's
have to be
not
on. They're on
in
the
their
opposite side of the trade. If you have a
right.
positive edge, they have a negative edge. So the question is, why does a casino say, hey, I'm up 200 bucks on this roulette wheel. I'm now going to lock in this gain and I'm going to go play blackjack. Why does a casino let you do that? Because it doesn't matter. That's the thing. That's the illusion. But people think, well, I locked this in and let me move over here. Well, I broke this spread apart. Let me do this. I'm going to apply this gain to, fine, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can say, look, I'm down 100 bucks on roulette. Let's go now play blackjack. I've got some gains. I'm going to apply these gains to these losses. Fine. Put them in buckets any way you want. The casino couldn't care less. It's not giving you an edge.
So here's where rules can really bite
Oh
you
yeah.
in the you know what, right? So here's like a rule. Okay, when I hit I don't know, make a number
X
up.
X number, right?
X, something X, I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Whether it's a
Well,
gain or a loss, right? That's going to help me keep an edge. No, it
which
won't.
gets like infinitely worse the smaller the dollar option that you're talking
Yep.
about.
Or
And
the stop. I'm going to buy it for 5. I'm going to set a stop at 450. That's just
same
you're losing.
idea,
Yep,
right?
you're going to lose in the long run on that.
And it's so funny because like people, well, the so the comeback is, yeah, but I made money.
Yeah, the
But
trade
what
worked.
did you count the money that you didn't make?
Right, right.
See that nobody wants to look at
Yeah.
that.
You can't say, "Hey, I went to Vegas and I'm up. I made money, so it was a good idea." No, it's not. The math says it's a bad idea and you got lucky. Now, as you said, if you want to bring in the value of entertainment, that's a completely separate story. We're not talking about that. We're just saying if you're here to make money, that's not a good argument to say the
No,
trade worked.
it's a
Right.
terrible
It's a
argument.
terrible. It's only going to make you think that you're doing something right.
But
So
again,
now
here's the disclaimer, and we're going to say this every time, Bill. If you understand the
the
game
game,
and you accept what the odds are and the probabilities, then have at it.
different story,
Different story.
right?
Different story. Just don't go in it thinking that if you get a double, you have to get out, or if you're down 10%, you have to get
Right.
out, or you're gonna flip around on some line and oh, you have a loss and you'll get out, but you'll get back in and
Right. So again, if I have to pay a dollar and Stu pays a dollar 10, I have no reason to leave that game or to shut it down. But for some in the markets, rules can change. Right now, maybe suddenly Stu is paying a dollar or he's paying 95 cents, and I say that's a reason for leaving, but not just because I'm up or because I think it's going to give me an edge. That's the point we're making. Now, let's get down to the good stuff. Let's say that some people come down to uh, about decisions and they'll say, all right, traders think they can get in and out and beat a negative edge. So now we're going to attack the third argument. First one is if you have a positive edge, don't leave. Doesn't make sense to trade in and out. If you have a negative edge, it doesn't make sense to get in to even start. But now let's say that traders say, all right, no, we agree that there's risk out there, but that's why you have to get in and out. They're always going to push back with something. So they're going to say, that's exactly why we're traders. When we get a gain, we're going to move on to something else. Well, the math works against you. And this is now the third point why about this illusion of control. Now, how is this? So let's assume that you have a 90% chance. How'd you like that, Stu? 90% chance of making a good decision each time. And I'm going to leave that as kind of a vague definition, but let's say that you're happy with the outcome. You've got some type of, you were glad that you exited, sold at the top, or you got in at a good time, you made money. You've got a 90% chance of making a good decision. Well, let's look at a simple buy and sell decisions. Just those right there is two decisions. I need to buy and then I need to sell. If those are because they're independent, making a good buy decision doesn't guarantee a good sell decision. They're not linked. So that's why mathematically we multiply them together. So if you take 90 times or 90% times 90%, comes up to 81%. And that means we have an 81% chance that both of them are a good decision. Or conversely, there's a 19% chance that at least one is wrong. That's just 100% minus 81. So now we're talking about a 1 in 5 chance that something is going to go wrong. So now our argument is, why do you call that an edge? But now watch what happens. Decisions are far greater than just simple buy or sell. So let's look at a little more realistic model. You have to decide what to buy. You have to decide which expiration, which strike, when to buy, when to sell. So right there, there's 5 decisions right there. So we would have to take 0.90 times 0.90 times 0.90, or mathematically is 0.90, and you can put it in a calculator right to the fifth. That just means we're multiplying them by themselves 5 times. Now we're down to 0.59. There's a 59% chance that they're all going to work out, or 41% chance that at least one is wrong. We're already starting to enter into coin flip territory, and we're only talking about 5 branches. But things get even worse than this. There are invisible branches. We talk about this all the time. Think about the things that you can't see. And that's a hard thing to do, but you have to think, what am I missing? So you might say, well, I just have to decide what to buy. That's one decision. Not really. You decide to buy NVIDIA, you're also choosing to not buy Micron. Now you
Yeah,
might have not put that
great,
out specifically
great
on the,
example.
and you also chose not to trade Intel. Why did you choose Micron or NVIDIA? See, there were a lot of things in the list, but they had to get rejected, and each one of those was a decision. So there's actually lots of things that go under just the simple tag of buy. So each decision is really rejecting hundreds or potentially thousands of others. Now, you might have a reason for entering. It might be RSI, Bollinger Bands, or a Head and Shoulders. All right. You made separate decisions that those matter. Sure, you can use RSI, but does it matter? Is it really telling you good information? You're making that assumption. That is a decision. And if you have a 90% chance of each of these being right and hundreds or at least dozens of these of things to reject, you're going to quickly approach 100% that at least one is wrong. Something is going to go wrong. And yet if you talk to traders, they'll say the very reason that they're pushing buttons is it increases their chances for things to go right. And it's just the opposite. It is absolutely opposite. So the thing that we tell everybody, Stu, what does it all boil down to? Price.
There's a price to pay.
You have to decide if the price is favorable. Sure, pound the table all day long that RSI shows this or Bollinger Bands shows that. What's the price that I have to pay?
And that goes
Yep.
on both sides, everyone.
Yes, it
That
does.
goes the
It does.
price you can pay and the price that you get.
That you receive. It's still a price.
It's a price. It's $1. Is it favorable to you? Is that 20
Correct.
cents or $1.20 or 2.20 favorable enough to you to allow you to go in and sell that put?
Right. And we hear people
or
just
the call on the,
that's right.
oh, I have to do, the buy rate. I can't
Right.
buy the stock. I have to do the buy rate. So
That's a
you go in
trade-off.
and you sell the call. Is it because somebody said to you, well, this is an income generating, piece of
Right.
nonsense.
Right.
And you're
It's
not
not a
really
bond
thinking
that
about what are you giving up. You're creating that asymmetric payoff and all that kind of fancy stuff.
yep.
And you're not really getting the idea that the sale on that is your protection.
That's right.
So how much protection are you really getting?
Close to 0. Right. So
Well,
why
I
do
mean,
it?
you're getting something, but is it
Something, but
enough? Is
is
real
it
I'm
enough?
real.
That's the question. It's not yes or no.
Is it enough for
Is it
what you're
enough?
giving up? Yeah.
Correct. So that's why we teach people that price is actually a point of disagreement. And this is where things are, it's a very interesting way to look at markets. If I decide to buy a call for 5 and Stu says yes to selling it for 5, we agreed on price.
But
That's why the trade went through. But why did we do it?
because we
Be-
disagree on the
on what's the
value,
V word? The value. I think the
right?
value is too low. Stu thinks it's too high. So if you start to look at markets as the price is the point of where we disagree, it'll help you to give new
So
insights. We
so
usually,
watch this. So watch this, everyone. So
Mhm,
this option is trading at 45 implied vol,
mhm,
and it's like Bill said, $5, and we agree to trade it
mhm.
at $5.
At
Right? He
five.
buys it, I sell it, or the other way doesn't matter. So where what are we doing here? Point number two.
We're
If I'm the
arguing
buyer,
volatility
I believe that the volatility
is too
is
high.
too low.
Well, no, I was saying if you were the seller,
Well, if I was a seller, then I think it's too high,
it's too high. Correct.
right? So that's how we do it on the options in the
That's
options world.
exactly right. Right. You have to understand because otherwise you are going to get caught in these traps. So we usually make an analogy with football. You can't say, if team A is favored and has a 10-point spread against them, you shouldn't expect to get rewarded to say, let me go place a bet on A because everybody thinks they're going to win. The market has already figured that out. You don't get paid for bringing stale information to the market. It's like the market saying, look, we already know that. That's why there's a spread against them. So why would I bet on A and Stu bets on B, which is the same thing as saying that he's selling A because we disagree about what?
The
The
10 points.
spread.
Yeah.
That's what we're disagreeing about. We're disagreeing about the tail. And that's how you have to approach options, not, hey, I heard it on CNBC that this stock is going up. Let me go buy. I've got an edge. Well, no, you have to say, what price did you pay? Now, here's another one, too, just to kind of wrap up the conversation. Traders sometimes will say, uh, well, yeah, I know there's this list of things that could go wrong, but let's say that it's if something backfires here, it's going to be time. I might get out a little too early, but that's easy to solve because I can just roll out for more time. But that in itself is another series of decisions. You had to decide that time is going to be the culprit. And when that
And you
time
have to pay
comes,
for it.
and you have to pay for it, and you also have to decide that when it comes time to roll, you're right back to the beginning. Which strike and which expiration? There's lots of decisions. It's not just one of saying, it'll just be time and I can roll out for more time.
So check
Those
this
are
out, right?
lots of
You
decisions.
roll out, right? So you went from paying 20 cents in theta to 10 cents in theta because you were afraid of that theta curve that you've
Hmm.
all been taught to run away
Right.
from.
The fear.
Right? Yeah, the fear, right? So you're a hero. You think you're a hero because you reduced your theta. Well, did you pay for it?
Of course.
Of course you paid for it. And did you take a look at the volatility? Did you look at the tilt? Did you look and see if you're buying into something that you didn't really even want to be in,
Right.
but you wanted to get rid of the other thing, but so you didn't pay attention to the rest of the story?
Right. You got to take all of these into account.
And
So
that's all
that's
we're saying. Yeah.
that's all we're saying is that don't get in there and start pushing buttons just because of a false belief that the more buttons I push and the more that I put them in these artificial buckets, I'm going to take this credit and apply that over here and lock in this. Free to do that. It makes no difference whatsoever mathematically.
It all it's everywhere in the options
It's
world.
rampant.
Right. It's
Yeah.
it's like, it's like the square root pricing thing, right? Which
Right.
which is, that's your basic at the money-ish option.
Sure.
And you might buy some time and get a reduced price for segments of time that you're buying, and that could be what you believe is your edge. And, maybe it is. Maybe you'll
Maybe.
find out that that's the way it kind of turned out. When you go to the out of monies, it could be a different story.
Yep.
So you gotta know what it is that you're getting, and you gotta say that cheaper segment of time is worth it to me on those at the monies to go out in time, even though I'm paying more money. See what happened? I paid more
Right.
money. That it was cheaper by the segment of time, but you're still paying more money, and you
You're,
still have that
you
money
still had to pay
on
for it.
the table.
Right.
And that comes. Remember the question yesterday? Let's talk about the vol skews and the big giant vol
Oh
skews on
yeah.
on
Right.
a,
For the
on a bed.
diagonal spreads. Right.
That's a giant trap as well. And
Huge.
it's yeah.
And it's sold as a simple strategy. We're like, I'd be very careful about saying that one.
Yeah, let
Right.
me buy 40. Let me go a month out and buy 40, and let me sell 120,
Yeah.
up front into the earnings.
Even though it's only 30 cents, you're going,
I,
okay,
I
well,
I
what's the big
can't
deal?
lose, or even if it's $1 or $2. Look, the other one you're paying 15 for,
Right.
and you're selling 150 vol, and you're getting $4 for it.
Right.
The other one on the delta, the
Disproportionate.
other one goes to 5, and the one you sold goes to 0. Well, yeah, but I had this great edge in implied volatility. Well, not so fast.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
Yellow light. I guess it really wasn't enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Volatility is not money. Correct. So, with all of that, now hopefully we've given you a new perspective. That's always our goal here on Coach's Corner. Let's revisit our Chalk Talk multiple trade adjustments give you a long term edge. So, now that you know what our premise is without any qualifications, I just want to come in here and be a rapid, rapid fire trader because that's what gives me the edge. I'm in and out. Is that a true or false statement? That is absolutely unequivocally 100% false.
here's another thing.
You cannot refute it.
You can't refute it. So one of the stocks that I used to trade, when it first came out, actually, was Home Depot. I traded that for a number of years,
Oh, nice.
and I must have done, I don't know, I mean, tens of thousands of
Sure.
trades, and I don't know how many contracts. I mean, a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like hundreds of thousands of
Hundreds of
contracts
thousands, millions.
over 5 or 6 years in Home Depot.
Yep.
And one day I was kind of like looking at the numbers, and I thought to myself, man, if I had just bought 1,000 shares of stock and like
And
put
forgotten
it to
about it.
bed, it was like put all that work and worry and
I
this
know.
and that, and
And then you're out. And how much did you make when you're out? Nothing. Right. You're out. See,
yeah,
that's the illusion traders say, oh, but I'm out. I've locked that in. Let me go over here. Well, how do you know you didn't step into Enron and leave Home Depot? See,
yeah, you don't
where the
know that,
errors, you don't
and
know
that's
that.
and that's not to say, look, I made money trading Home Depot, but I was thinking to myself, at what cost? I didn't get into Newmont Mining because I was trading Home Depot, or I didn't get into this because I was trading, and all that applies. I mean,
It
it's the same
does.
thing here. We heard that recently with that. I think we talked about this recently with the silver. Oh my God, man! I've been waiting 25 years for
Years, look
this.
at this run.
Look at how much money I made. Really,
Right.
you're way behind the
Probably
eight ball.
way behind
Way
eight.
behind the eight ball.
The
Had that
S&P
money
is
been sitting in the
long,
spider. Yeah,
long past you.
yeah, yeah.
All illusions. So anyway, we hope that gives you some very good things to think about. If you like topics like this, why wait till Thursday? Come join us Tuesday, Thursday. We have a beginner class Tuesday, intermediate advance on Thursday. Shoot that QR code. We'd love to have you there. And we will see you next Thursday on Coach's Corner. We'll see you then.